Going live, going live. These mics are hot.
Oh,
Mics
John.
are hot.
Oh, man.
What's up, Rob?
Dude, my back and my shoulders are killing me from this unexpected workout that I did Saturday morning for 3 hours.
You're all about the working out, though. My wife always says, "Yo, you always want to work out. This is your dream, right? Shoveling snow for 3 hours straight."
No, that's horrible, man. It was like, no, it was horrible. I listen. Shoveling absolutely sucks. And here's the thing, right? So my wife says to me, she's like, because it was 3 hours I was out there, and listen, it's not like I don't have the Stu Pay palatial estate where I have like a 15-car driveway, right? And so she's like, you can't be doing this anymore. Like, we're getting too old, which really meant you're getting too old. You got to look at getting a snowblower. So now I'm looking to pick up a snowblower. But like,
yeah, I'm surprised you held up for so long.
It was stupid.
Yeah, I'm surprised you held up for so long.
Yeah,
I considered an ATV when I was I was like, it'd be pretty sweet to get one of those ATVs with the little snow shovel on the front.
Yeah,
just like ram this snow out of the way. Like, that'd be sweet.
But do you park in your driveway?
Yeah. Because I have a situation where I have too many cars.
Right.
First world problems. 2 of them don't work, so don't be jealous of me or anything. But yeah, I have 2 of them in the driveway, so it kind of like it sucks.
So do you have the other ones are in your garage?
Yeah, I've got two in the garage. One that's an ongoing project, and my current broken car from the accident. So fun times.
Yeah, because at least both my cars are in the garage. But like, honestly, man, it's just, it doesn't. And then, I felt bad, right? Because there was like an older gentleman across the road who, when the plow comes through, I don't know in your area, but in where I live in Ajax, John, they will build a wall, kind of like the same height and size that used to bifurcate East and West Germany. It's a huge, massive wall of snow at the end of your driveways. And so we were picking at it, and I swear to God,
it was really hot. Yeah, there's some, like, my area, I'm lucky if I can hold out. There is another truck that comes in the evening that slams the little mountain out of the way. But you usually have to go somewhere during the day, so you can't wait for that guy to come around. And then I know in some areas, if you have seniors living in the house and there's no one else to shovel, you can sign up for a program. So for you people that have parents and stuff like that are kicking around on their own, maybe see if you can sign up for that. But yeah, me and my brother chipped in for snow shoveling for my mom. To knock that off the plate. I can't imagine doing your own house and then having to drive over to a parent or loved one's and then doing their house.
Yeah, my mom lives in a condo for the specific reason that I would just be like, yeah, I'm not coming over to help you.
Yeah. What's up, guys? I see Steve in the chat. Yeah, he was like, the bad part was the weather. It kind of heated up a little bit, so it melted, but not enough to melt it just go away. Right. Enough to make it everything into packing snow, he says.
Here's who I felt the worst for were like little dogs. I have a little dog, a Yorkie, and the dogs can't get up on top of the snow to do their business.
Can't you just throw them up
there? My dog runs outside in the backyard and starts barking at the sky because she just had frustration. So I started walking. When I'm walking the dog, I saw all these people who had these like big square empty spots on their front lawn. I'm like, what do they have here? Like, I didn't understand. And I realized, they shoveled like this 10 by 4 foot section on their lawn to allow a spot for their dogs to do his business because the dogs can't get on top of the snow to do, or they sink right in or whatever. Right. So,
you'd have to dive in after. And the worst is when you step in the snow and then your boot comes off when you're like trying to walk through. So, all right. Yeah. We finally dug ourselves out of the snowstorm, folks. So thanks for joining us. If you live in Canada, we got hit decently hard. That was a nice little kind of like, hey, you thought this was over? It ain't over yet. Shout out to Scott.
You got hit deep and hard.
Significant. It was a significant snowfall. This snowstorm definitely lived up to the hype. I don't know if anyone was out driving. I had to drive home from the shop that Friday night. It was zero visibility. It was just a white sheet. Almost like you remember the KKK, maybe. I don't know what it's like when you're walking around in that hood. But no, it was just.
I wouldn't know either.
You sure you wouldn't know?
No.
I don't know what it's like. whatever. Anyways, terrible jokes aside. Yeah, fun times in the snow for us Canadians. So welcome to the Sidekick Show. It is Monday night. It is what is this? It's March 6th, right? We're in March.
It is March 6th.
Holy Jeebus. It's March already. So thank you, everybody. We got a hell of a March lined up for you. We've actually posted all the stuff that we're doing throughout this month already. So it's all set and planned out. But today is Mission Mondays. We're doing one Mission Impossible movie the first Monday of every month until the release of Dead Reckoning. And we are currently on Mission Impossible 3, right? Mission Impossible 3?
Yep.
Mission Impossible 3. So if you are joining us for that, we're going to get to that after. We're going to talk a little bit about some other stuff. We're going to ask you how your weekend was. So get all that ready. It's right. Yeah, it was a bad joke. Please ignore it. But yeah, we're gonna talk about how was your weekend aside from Snowmageddon, Rob? Did you watch Last of Us? Did you watch Creed 3? Did you watch The Mandalorian? There's so much stuff that came out.
Yeah, there's a lot. So yeah, man. So listen, here's what I got up to, John. In terms of watching, yes, obviously I watched Mandalorian last week. I did see last night's Last of Us, the penultimate episode. I can't believe next week is the season finale. I'm just like shocked by
it's over already. Yeah, I'm an episode behind.
I'm not prepared, man. I want more. I'm still on my James Bond kick, John. I finished off the Timothy Dalton era, which isn't that hard. There's only 2 of them: Living Daylights and License to Kill. Which I got to tell you, and you know, at some point, John, we will have to maybe spin off this show and have a special James Bond episodes or whatever. But License to Kill is the one movie I've seen probably the most, only because in 1989 it came out, and my dad had recorded it off First Choice, the movie network, and I just watched it all the time. It was just constantly on, right? So
you got your money's worth out of that recording.
Yeah, and I had that damn Gladys Knight song stuck in my head. It was just, anyways. So, but my daughter had her dance showcase. We are now entering, John, the point of hell for the next 5 months or 4 months, which is competition season, and it kicked off this past weekend. So we dealt with that. But here's something I didn't get to do, John. I didn't get to watch Creed 3. I had tickets for Creed 3, but my son and I went to the theater out here, our usual go-to spot, and the manager opens up the doors. A big, jolly fellow, tall guy, could have been like a wrestler. And he's like, "Hey, do you guys already have tickets?" And I'm like, "Yes, we do." And he goes, "All right, get you come in this way." I'm like, "Wow, we're getting like, they're opening the door for us, buddy. Like, this is crazy."
First in.
And the guy says, "So we have a bit of a problem." And I'm like, "Oh boy." And he's like, "We had no power today and we're running off the generators. And now we can't have anybody in the building because it's not safe. The generators have to be recharged." And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, we had no power." And I'm looking out and I see lights on everywhere. And I'm like, "But you have power now."
But I see power coming from everywhere.
I can feel it like electro on my fingertips. And I'm like, and he's like, "Yes. However, it just came back on, but the generators are completely drained, and we're not able to have people in the building without generators as backups in case something happens." So he cringe again. His guy's like, he's got to be 6'4" and quite broad, and he's like, he cowers. He goes, "You guys don't have tickets for, is it Demon Slayer or Demon Slow or whatever? What's that new anime movie that's out?"
Demon Slayer, probably. Yes.
Yeah. And I'm like, no, Creed 3. And he goes, "Oh, okay, thank you." Because the Demon Slayer people are real pissed because we only have like a 1 week special engagement. And I'm like, oh. So yeah, we got a refund and then we got 2 free tickets on top of it. They gave us as just for an inconvenience. So we didn't get to see Creed 3. But I'm going to transition over to you, John, for your weekend because you did get to see Creed 3. And how was the rest of your weekend?
Yeah, so I got to see Creed 3. Thankfully, I feel bad for those Demon Slayer people because they probably came from near and far because those are usually pretty limited engagements, like a very short time span that they put these anime movies in there. So that sucks, and that sucks for you guys. You guys were ready to go out and all that kind of stuff. But I was fortunate enough to get to see Creed 3. I don't know if it's going to come up in your report later, but
no,
destroyed the box office. I think biggest opening for a Rocky movie. Or Creed or new sports movie. I don't know what the hell the classification.
Okay, great. You've done some great research.
Yeah, crack team on my research there. But yeah, I saw it. If you guys haven't seen any of the Creed movies, they are a lot of fun. Creed 1 especially was a really special time. Ryan Coogler, Michael B. Jordan, Sylvester Stallone. 2 was a lot of fun. Rob, I don't know if you remember 2 with Ivan Drago and his son.
Yeah.
Not quite a high point in the series. Some criticisms to it, but it's still a fun movie. And then Creed 3 got our guy Michael B. Jordan in his directorial debut. Jonathan Majors, who's the girl who played Tessa Thompson, right? Who plays Valkyrie. Like a whole cast of really talented people working on this project. And I'll say it did not disappoint. It was a good kind of transition in the Rocky franchise as the first movie without Sylvester Stallone. And they did, I think, Sly has come out as not being happy about that. I've heard other the director Coogler helped Michael B. Jordan to talk about they wanted to move the story beyond that point. And I see their point. You can't have, like, this is what, the 8th or 9th Rocky movie. You can't keep doing these and expecting Sylvester Stallone to be attached to every single one. If you want to be able to continue, right? Like it's like a crutch, right, Rob? If they keep kind of going back to this guy, and don't let these characters kind of do something outside.
Yeah, I think the character has to serve a purpose, and I think it did serve a purpose in the first one. And I kind of questioned what was going on in the second. To be honest with you, I kind of thought they were going to kill him off in the second. Which would have made sense, to be honest. It's interesting because I sent you a message and I was like, you know what I'm thinking? I know iTunes had a special on it ends tomorrow on all the Rocky movies. Like, maybe I'll pull the trigger because I used to watch these like a lot, right? Like, I would rent them from the video store when I was a kid, or again, you record them off of First Choice, the movie network out here, and I would just like, oh, okay. And I'd watch them over and over. And I used to love watching the Rocky movies. I would watch them like repeatedly. And so I'm not really sure, and maybe this is a discussion we'll have next week when we talk about sports movies, but I'm not sure if they would still hold up and give me that feeling, because I did the same thing with the Rambo movies, and I purchased those a few years ago, and I watched them and I'm like, yeah, okay, they're okay. But I'm so now used to more modern movies. But they do have that special on the Rocky 4, the recut, the Rocky v. Drago. And I might just decide to grab that one. So
I might grab that because it does. I don't think that's going to appear on any streaming service. They're not going to have Rocky 4 and then Rocky 4, this new director's cut. So your probably only way to see it is to pick up a copy. But Rocky 3 and 4 are definitely on my rewatch kind of rotation. And they're fun. They're very formulaic, and like this new Creed movie, it kind of takes the formula and modernizes it. And man, hell, Jonathan Majors, I think he's gonna be on the list of those actors that you just want to follow. His performance is amazing in this movie, so much so that you kind of Michael B. Jordan, I think he's a great performer as well. But you can kind of see a skill level difference just in the way that he moves, he talks, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, 100%. If you haven't seen Creed 3, I'm not going to be super mad if you wait for it on streaming, because it is a movie that you could sit down and enjoy in the house. But it was lots of fun to
well, I'm planning to go see it this Friday once they release show times. I'm looking to go pick up tickets for this Friday. So
yeah. And shout out to Steve, who's talking a lot about anime stuff. This movie, a lot of people have said, because Michael B. Jordan is such an anime fan, it's got a little bit of anime flair, especially when they get to the fight scenes. So we'll save that discussion for later when a couple more people have seen it. So yeah, Creed 3 was basically the main thing that I watched, Rob. I'm one episode behind on Last of Us.
Okay.
Mandalorian, of course, was a blast, and I think we're going to save that for a discussion later on. And then the only other thing I got to was I'm going to give my last pitch for Your Honor. I don't know if anyone else is watching this show. Bryan Cranston. Season 2, this show is just amazing. I never would have thought they would have had material for a second season after you see the result of first season, but it's got everybody in it. He plays a judge. His son kind of gets in an accident and kills like a mobster's son.
Okay.
And then the whole thing spirals out of control from there. So it's got these like kind of mobsters. It's got this whole courtroom thing going on, and it's also got the street gangs involved. So if you're looking for something fun to watch, check out Your Honor on, I believe it's on Crave right now.
Crave. And you've mentioned a few times, and I have added it to my list, but it's funny. I meant to put together a list of everything that's coming out this month, and it's gotten away from me like time.
Yeah.
I'm being pulled 19 different directions. Again, competition season, John. I'm all
man.
But There's a lot. Like, okay, we had the Mandalorian, but I think I know that you're not a fan of the Perry Mason reboot series, but that starts I think tonight on HBO or Crave. Yeah. Like, there's every couple of days. Ted Lasso starts this month. There's all these series or movies are dropping in March, and it's just like, oh my god, right? And I know I'm complaining about streaming movies and services, but it's like my lists keep getting like deeper and deeper and deeper, and it's just like, I don't know what to do.
Well, this originally wasn't even on my radar. It was like, I know this guy's a good performer. I've heard good things about this show. Let me throw it on in the background just for something to go, and then it just captured me, and I hooked. I tore through the whole first season. And then now I'm watching the second season as each episode airs. So
cool.
Yeah, check that out. So Steve's mentioning some obscure anime stuff, but yeah, I'm interested to hear if you actually get to go see this, Steve. If you feel this anime thing going on. So if you guys got up to anything this weekend that we didn't cover, let us know. Are you still on the Last of Us train? Are you enjoying Mandalorian? Or what other shows are you watching? Or did you go see Creed? Or did you see Puss in Boots? That one, I heard that's really good. Puss in Boots the movie, Rob, not what you've got on your watch list. The animated one, the cat from Shrek. Remember Shrek? Remember the movie Shrek?
Yeah.
That guy. And I'm trying to think of what else was going on in the theaters. Oh, Cocaine Bear, I think, is in theaters, but I've heard not so great things about that one. So.
I've heard it actually. I've heard it's actually a hell of a lot of fun. But you know what? It won't entice me to go see the theater. I'll just wait for it to hit streaming services.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Cocaine Bear, we look forward to one of you guys checking it out and letting us know.
Yeah.
So if you guys got up to anything, let us know, and maybe we'll cycle back to it. So let's keep it rolling. I guess we want to get to our Mission Impossible 3 talk. So Rob, let me talk to you a little bit about some things at the shop.
Yeah.
So we did just recently get in a whole bunch of hot toys because we know Rob is now a newly minted hot toys collector.
Well, no, that's not true. I don't have anything yet.
Yeah. But this is part of collecting hot toys, is the pre-order stage where you pre-order the thing and you have to wait 1 to 2 years for it to show up.
Which is just stupid.
It's kind of bonkers, folks. Like if most things, even if you pre-order a video game, I feel like it's not as far out as 1 to 2 years. So these high-end toy collectibles have gotten to this space, or this company, at least Hot Toys, has gotten to this space where they can basically tell you, hey, pre-order this now, wait a year, and it'll come out. So we
look at this one. This is from Iron Man 2. That came out in 2010.
Yeah. So what they're doing is they're kind of double dipping now, and they're kind of going back and they're not re-releasing, but they have done this armor before. I feel like they have done this Tony Stark suit before, but now they're combining it and putting the Iron Man in a stage where I guess the armor is like kind of coming on. This is one of the best scenes from Iron Man 2, I think.
Yeah, I would agree.
Where he puts on this suitcase armor. Yeah.
Remember? He has a suitcase and he drops it. He steps on it and it starts.
Yeah. It was definitely one of the coolest moments. And even the Stark racing suit was pretty cool. I feel like a bunch of companies made replicas of this suit. I haven't seen anyone on the streets wearing it, but we did get
3 of them.
Yeah, I do have. I've them in different colorways. But yeah, so you gotta
call them
match
Power Rangers uniforms. So
go Stark Rangers. But yeah, this is a beautiful piece. If you guys want to check this out, we have this in shop right now. So the great thing is you can come see it and pick it up. We also did get the reissue of the Mark I Iron Man. So double dipping or triple dipping. They're going back to Iron Man 1 now, Rob, and re-releasing this Mark I suit with die-cast metal parts, some kind of resculpts. I think the face is a new sculpt. I'm not 100% sure. But they're kind of adding new technology to it and providing a way for people to get these pieces that are really hard to obtain now because it's been so long. So one of the good things about Hot Toys is they do become collectible. But sometimes they kind of go back and kind of do this type of thing. So I really like this. Did you really like this armor back then, Rob?
Yeah, really I thought it was pretty cool. I really like that movie. Like I still like. Yeah. I like to throw it on like once a year, and I do like the armor, and I think you're right. I think that the thing about these is like they're reissuing it. They do make some subtle changes. Now maybe if you already have the original one, you're like, oh, maybe I will upgrade or maybe I won't. But if you missed out on it from back in the day and you're getting into the hobby now, kind of like omnibus hunting, like with the whales, right? This might be a whale or a grail for somebody, and it's come back out, and you pick it up, right? So
yeah, and I've always liked this design. It's pretty cool. It kind of saw some reuse with Hydra Stomper, but that was a lot of fun. We also did get in this Darth Vader mythos statue, 1/4 scale. Look, Rob's rocking the Star Wars shirt. Andre did post a bunch of pictures of this. He added it to his collection of Star Wars mythos statues next to Obi-Wan that everybody wants. I think that's a rare Obi-Wan. But this is a really cool Vader if you're looking for something fun. And a big piece. Some people maybe only get 1 or 2 items, but this is definitely a centerpiece to your collection. So hit me up if you're interested in that. We are getting, this is in transit right now. This is, remember, Rob, we talked about this one, the Batman Dark Knight Returns statue. They've got a nice mock-up of this young lady in her very trendy leather jacket looking at the statue.
She's wearing the Stark racing suit, actually.
Yeah, it's a funny render, but this statue looks really good, very iconic. And would you still put this Batman Returns on your list of, essential comic book reads for new people?
Dark Knight Returns?
Yeah.
It's a very good question, and probably a much bigger discussion, because I think it's a good read. But as we've discussed, sometimes comics of the 80s and even sometimes the 90s, it's hard to get through some of them because of the wordiness of it all.
Yeah.
And I get the irony coming from me, who doesn't stop talking. Comparative to more modern day comics and whatnot. So I think it's a great read, but I can foresee a situation happening when maybe new readers are just
this probably would not make my new readers list right now unless someone is gravitated towards this artwork. If they see the artwork and they're like, oh, this looks really cool. It is a pioneer of the genre. Like, this is the first or one of the early times we see that a character go to a darker side. But Rob's right. It is a little bit more dense in the storytelling and the text and a little bit more heavier in its content. And there's lots of other books that you can recommend to new readers, like Hush and things like that. They're a little more accessible, but I think this is just, it's such an iconic look that
so one. Sorry, you said that statue's in transit?
That one's in transit along with this one, this beautiful Wonder Woman Prime 1 statue. This is probably going to be the biggest Wonder Woman statue you've ever seen. It is 1/3 scale. It is based off the DC Rebirth line. So it looks pretty good. It doesn't look like anyone in particular. I don't see it. It looks just more like a good comic rendition of Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
But this one's gonna be a big one. I'm definitely, when I set this one up, I'm gonna have to take some pictures.
Wow.
So people can check it out. And then Rob, we're gonna tempt you now, since you're already on the Hot Toys snowball effect. You guys, yeah. So Steve asked if that Batman branded leather jacket is for sale. Maybe that's what they're doing. They're teasing it to come out next. But Rob, check what they just announced. They announced the motorbike to go along with your Robert Pattinson Batman. So if you have already ordered, say, a Batman 89 figure, maybe you need a couple other representations of your other most favorite Batman movies on your shelf. And nothing really makes one of these figures like an accessory like this bike. Like, that's cool. I don't remember the bike in particular from the movie being super duper cool. I know the car was the coolest thing that I remember. But this will look really nice on your display. And it's not as big as a full size car, but it does give this statue some weight.
Yeah, no, it's a nice piece.
Yeah.
And that Pattinson, that's coming out, and that Hot Toys figure should be out relatively soon,
man.
as well.
Yeah, man. Steve asked if that Wonder Woman cape was cloth. Yeah, it is.
Yep, it is mixed media.
These Prime 1 usually does a mixed media style, so you might actually see some cloth elsewhere on her as well. So yeah.
Oh man, that Pattinson. Yeah. So any idea when that Pattinson is hitting store shelves?
Rob's already itching for. Yeah, there's multiple versions of that Robert Pattinson Batman. I'll go fish it up, and next episode I'll have an update on that.
Sounds good,
Rob. Because I'm sure you're looking at. They do have Sonar Batman is out now.
Yes,
you want
the Val Kilmer. Yeah. No thanks.
Oh man, but yeah. So shout out to that. Thank you everybody for checking out what we've got at the store. Inexpensive ass stuff. I don't know what we can call that segment. But anyways, Rob, let me kick it over to you for some news. If there is any news,
there wasn't really a lot of news to in the past week. But I will say, first of all, John, we're a big. We watched a few. Well, God, I guess it was last year for sure. We did a rewatch of Heat. Michael Mann's Heat. And one of the actors that we had mentioned in that movie was Tom Sizemore, who unfortunately passed away last week at the age, I believe it was 61. He had it sounds like he had a stroke about 2 to 3 weeks ago, and he just was never able to regain consciousness, put on life support, induced coma, and passed away. I think it was just a Friday or so. So, Tom Sizemore had a lot of demons, but he was one of those guys. Every time he was in a movie, he just kind of elevated. He was just so mesmerizing in those scenes, right? And Save It Private Ryan, and in Black Hawk Down, in Heat, and a whole bunch of others. So rest in peace to Tom Sizemore. Also, John, if you're Star Trek fans, and I know that obviously Lewis is here, and he's a big Star Trek Discovery fan. Lewis said it might be his favorite Star Trek Discovery of all time. He's like, I don't even care about Next Generation anymore.
Yeah, forget Picard right now. I know he's all hype about Picard right now.
Yeah. Lewis is like, that spore drive technology is my jam. Unfortunately, Discovery will be discoveredless as of 2024. Undiscovered, as it will be ending. It is ending its run with season 5 in 2024. But you know what? Like, hey, for all the faults that Discovery did have, you can at least, though, give it a tip of the hat to the fact that it did spur off a whole bunch of other shows, including was it Forward Decks or something, that anime show that you guys really like?
Lower Decks, come on.
Lower Decks, whatever.
Don't pretend like you don't know.
And then obviously Strange New Worlds, which I'm a huge fan of of that season. And season 2 starts, I think, the next couple of months. And then, helping to bring back Picard and everything else. So Discovery is no more. Sorry, Lewis. I know you're.
It's got one more season, right? And then it's no more.
Right? Yeah. So then the last and final season drops in 2024.
Yeah, I'm kind of okay with, like, when they announce the ending of a show and they have a season to, like, kind of wrap things up.
Yeah,
I hate when it just kind of like, it's not renewed, so it's canceled. So you don't get a last episode, you don't get a farewell to everybody, all that kind of stuff. So that's always unfortunate. But yeah, maybe there's so much Star Trek content. I guess one of them had to go, so it was first in the door, I guess, first out.
Yeah,
right?
first in the door, first out.
Yeah. For the new generation. But yeah, Lewis is talking about how fantastic Picard season 3 is, and even our good buddy Andre gave it 5-star rating. So it must mean something is going right with that show right now. Wow. So
there we go. We'll have to tune I haven't watched it. I got burned off of season 1, but maybe I'll have to go back. Hey, today, John, did you happen to check out a trailer for a new little movie by Seth Rogen, produced by Seth Rogen, called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem? Did you see this trailer?
Yes, I actually watched this trailer. Yeah.
Okay, what are your thoughts?
I love it. But I'm very open to different interpretations of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I know people didn't like that last show, some people didn't like Rise of the TMNT, but it's actually really good if you guys give it a chance. I really like the Nickelodeon stuff, and I dig it. I think the opening crawl is like the Forever Teenager Seth Rogen or whatever.
Yeah.
But All-Star, I think, Rob, you posted the link to the voice cast.
Yeah.
And when I read the voice cast, I'm like, holy crap, Jackie Chan, Hannibal Buress, John Cena, like all kinds of big hitters in known names. So I'm in. I'm 100% in. Rob, how did you feel about it?
Yeah, you said Jackie Chan, right? Jackie Chan is Splinter. Yeah. So I'm letting the dog out of the office.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys that
farted, and he had to air it out a little bit.
I did. I was like, oh, please, I hope nobody heard this. And Ice Cube, Paul Rudd, Maya Rudolph, John Cena, Rose Byrne, they're all as part of Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. And I think even Rogan himself is going to be voicing either Bebop or Rocksteady, one or the other. He's doing Bebop. John Cena is going to play Rocksteady. Okay. But let's talk about the trailer quickly, because I watched it today, and John, I got to tell you, I got a lot of Into the Spider-Verse
100%.
Feelings up based on the animation style. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I noticed it upon my second viewing. The first viewing, I was just kind of like, because I've been following a lot of the current TMNT stuff, so I have enjoyed almost all their content. TMNT 3 aside, I remember enjoying it when I was a kid, but it's pretty much unwatchable now. But yeah, the second time I watched it, that's when I noticed, oh, this has got a heavy vibe from Edge of the Spider-Verse or Into the Spider-Verse, with Miles and kind of like when he was a kid. And just like you said, the animation style, how it kind of like sometimes it flickers, it'll skip a couple frames, and just the overall look, it 100% gives me that vibe, and I'm down for it. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Cool. All right, and you know what? There was one story I was going to talk about, John, but we're going to save it for maybe another time because I think it's time we should just get into Mission Impossible 3. It's 8:45, and you know what, man? We've got because the other story I was quickly going to touch on is about what Mark Guggenheim had said. He was the guy who helped steer the ship of the Arrowverse, not getting a conversation with James Gunn and Warner Brothers and his thoughts on that. But maybe we can do that for another episode, another day, because that seems like a really long conversation. And I think we just want to dive into Mission Impossible. I'm excited to get into Mission Impossible.
Yeah. So let's put a pin in that, folks. We'll save it for either another live show or maybe we'll address it on the Heroes Web podcast. But that I think it is a good point of discussion. So if you haven't read that article, we'll try and repost it on socials or just give it a look up.
It was actually, weirdly enough, he wrote his whole thing came out at the beginning of February 8th. And I read it then and then gave no thought of it. And then Andre reposted it to us like 4 days ago. And then all of a sudden, in the last 2 days, it's been all over like the news, like in your major news, geek news sites and everything else. It seems to just all of a sudden 30 days later it has gotten new life. So just if you Google Mark Guggenheim, you'll see there's a whole bunch of stuff dedicated to his misgivings about his time of the Arrowverse and what it's meant creatively or financially for him going forward. So, yeah. But we are here to talk about Mission Impossible 3. It is Mission Monday. And as John said at the beginning of the show, we are reviewing one Mission Impossible movie every month, the first Monday of every month, as we count down to Dead Reckoning Part 1, which drops in July. And John, we might actually have to do something similar to this in the next few months with the Indiana Jones movies.
No. I don't think I'm going to be able to go to that, Rob. I don't know.
All right. So at any rate, we've got the first of all, thank you to everybody who are tuning in, whether you're joining us live on the live stream, you're listening after the fact. If it's after the fact, do us a favor. You can join us every Monday night live, 8:15 p.m. Eastern time on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch. I think it's on Twitter as well. Yeah. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. We have there's new videos dropping, there's new shows. Heroes World Podcast will be back, don't worry. Schedules are just busy, but we have lots of stuff to be talking about going into the spring and summer seasons. But I'm gonna kick it off, John, if you don't mind, with a rundown of Mission Impossible 3. You good with that?
Yeah. Can you kick it? Yeah,
I can. I'm just gonna have a sip of my bubbly.
I got a non. Oh, I got a latte here. My wife got me.
It's not even your name. She doesn't even put your name on it.
No, because it's from this pancake place. They make super big fluffy pancakes. But yeah, anyways.
All right. Arriving 6 years after John Woo's kick at the can, Mission Impossible 3 released May 5th, 2006 with new director J.J. Abrams. Now, while J.J. had a litany of credits to his name at this point in his career, including directing what was at the time the most expensive television pilot ever in Lost, and helming a number of episodes of his show Alias, this movie was his theatrical directorial debut. Once again, produced and starring Tom Cruise. The only other returning cast member is Ving Rhames, who is this time joined by Michelle Monaghan, Maggie Q, Billy Crudup, Lawrence Fishburne, Simon Pegg, and the late, very great Philip Seymour Hoffman. So you may be wondering why the long delay between parts 2 and 3. 6 years is a long time. And that was due to the problems in developing this movie initially. Back in 2002, development did start. Guess what, John? David Fincher was going to direct the movie, but he had some creative differences with the project. So he left, and then they brought another director, whose name you might know, John, Joe Carnahan. And Joe Carnahan also experienced some creative differences in the project. So while watching, he was binge watching the first 2 seasons of Alias, Tom Cruise jumped up like he did on Oprah's couch and proclaimed that J.J. Abrams had the eye that he was looking for. But with Abrams' commitments to Alias and Lost at the time, it took a little bit of maneuvering and some delays before this movie got in front of cameras. Now, if you are a J.J. Abrams fan, you will have noticed cameos by Felicity herself, Kerry Russell, as well as a cameo from J.J. go-to guy, Greg Grunberg, who has been in every film piece of J.J. Abrams material. Seriously.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah, he's been in Star Wars, he's been in Star Trek, he's been in everything. And he actually was in this movie as well, John. He was the guy who was questioning Tom Cruise at the beginning of the house party. He was about, what do you do? That was the movie was scored by Michael Giacchino, who last year scored The Batman and then went on to direct a small little thing called Werewolf by Night. On a budget of about 170 million, the movie brought in 400 million at the box office. And now, despite that pretty large amount, John, it remains the lowest grossing movie of the series thus far. Who knows what happens with Dead Reckoning? The movie opened to generally positive reviews, and as of today on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a critic score of 71% and an audience score of 69, dudes. So, John, we are 3 movies deep into this series. Have you accepted JJ's mission, or do you wish this movie was exiled to an island and lost forever?
I knew you were going to throw in a Lost reference. Get out of town with your Lost show. But yeah, well,
by the way, coming soon on the Heroes World Psychic Show, all 6 seasons of Lost will be watched.
That's all you, man. That's all you. I think Scott said he was down for that. And you could probably entice Andre to join in for the first season, and then after that, he'll be bouncing out.
Yeah. So, John, yeah, Mission Impossible 3.
Yeah, Mission Impossible 3. I remember back in the day, people did not like this for some reason. Hence the lowest grossing of the Mission movies, which is unfortunate. I don't know if it was some baggage that Abrams brought with him, or something like that, or just people hating. But I actually quite like this. I thought this was actually a really good movie, and I was a little worried after we watched 1 and 2, and I'm like, oh Jesus, maybe I don't love this series as much as I thought. But 3, I think, is actually like you said, and like I think a lot of articles have said, this is the template that they kind of use for the upcoming movies and things like that. I never watched Alias really, so I don't know how much of this was cribbed from Alias. A lot of people say, yeah, a lot of the trademarks that Abrams kind of throws in here are taken directly from the kind of Alias feel. So I don't know, Rob, how do you feel about this movie overall?
Well, so, but initially, I remember you telling me that you thought this movie was trash.
I thought it was trash. Like when it first came out, I remember the reception was people didn't like it. So much so that I don't think I saw this in theaters. I'm pretty sure I didn't see this in theaters. I saw it way afterhand, after everyone had trash talked it and things like that. And I was like, hey, this seemed pretty good to me. So I didn't actually know who some of the characters that carry over were when I got to Ghost Protocol, right?
Right. Okay, so for me, I remember seeing this in the theaters, and I remember really enjoying it. I know at the time, and I don't know, I can't say for certain if this was a result of maybe its poor performance at the box office, which again, like 400 million is nothing to like cry about. But it was going up against, the Bourne movies had come out. Literally 5 months later, you had Casino Royale dropping in theaters. But everybody you'd already had a bit of a glimpse as to what type of new tone James Bond was going to carry. So I think people were questioning, where does this movie at that time belong in this pantheon of action movies and spies and whatnot. But I've always maintained, I remember saying this to you, and I said this on the show before numerous times, is that, you can't get to like Ghost Protocol, Ghost, it was Ghost Protocol, right? And then Rogue Nation.
Rogue Nation and then Fallout.
Like, you can't get to those from number 2. Like, number 2, there's no transition right? Like it's not it's too clunky, but when you can see that through line between 3 and going forward, in so much as that you have a lot of now the same reoccurring characters in Simon Pegg and in well, still obviously Ving Rhames, but yeah, Simon Pegg and a couple others who carry on throughout the rest of these movies. And you still have this thread of a storyline with his wife, right? With Michelle Monaghan throughout the course of the movies, which was played a very prominent part in the last one in Fallout. You can really see how important I think in number 3 is. And maybe I'd be interested if people's opinions of the movie have changed since it initially came out, seeing it how important it was to the greater overall story and projection that direction that this franchise was going in.
So we've already got some comments going on in the chat already. So let's quickly address cast, and then we'll maybe go dive back and forth into these comments, because a lot of the comments are going to deal with when we kind of start talking about our favorite scenes or anything we want to throw in the fire. There's a little sneak preview. Scott was not happy with that final end scene, so we're good. I think we're going to get to that, Scott. I'm going to address that for sure. But Rob, how do you feel about Cruise in this movie? I think Cruise, like, there's it opens. I don't know if this was an Abrams trademark where it opens and you're flash forwarded into the story.
Yeah, it was a cold open, right? But it was it was.
Yeah, so you don't know what's going on, and then they kind of go backwards and then fill it in. But I think Cruise, like, acting in this kind of like trying to think on his feet and get this guy to not kill his wife at the time. I think overall in this movie, he's pretty good, I think.
Yeah. Well, and again, it feels like a different Ethan Hunt.
Yeah.
And I don't listen. This is not me saying JJ, he cracked the code. He did it all. Yeah. This is, I think, also a huge testament to Tom Cruise. I mean, he produced this movie. He knew a direction he wanted to kind of go in. It was a very different take on Ethan Hunt than what we got in the last couple of movies. He was vulnerable.
Yeah.
Right. In this movie. And so, I thought his acting, I thought the whole thing was, and again, he's a lot of that running, the stuff that he's come known for is really, like, you can start to see it in this movie when he had that tracking shot of him running. Right. Yeah. And the, and then I think
that is one we addressed the running. I know in The Firm, he runs a lot, but I feel like this scene where he's running across those, whatever they are, the markets or the docks.
Yeah. The markets
or whatever was the scene where that everyone started to make fun of. Courtney Cox would talk about Tom Cruise chopping the air and stuff like that. So I think that's the most iconic part of him. But what about the rest of the cast? How do you feel? I know you've been raving about Seymour Hoffman.
Hoffman. I thought he was fantastic as a villain, right? Like, I thought he was really, really good. And you also have to give the guy credit because he was also doing some physicality as well, because he was playing Ethan Hunt playing the villain. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
he's pretending to be, he's putting on his best Tom Cruise impersonation.
Right. And then, like, having the conversation, like, in his, like, he was such a good actor, man. And it's just too bad he's no longer with us, because I thought he was just absolutely, I thought he was terrifying as the villain. Right. Like, I just think,
I thought he was really good. Aside from when we get to talking about the final scene, he looked out of his element for sure. But it might have just been the way that they were filming him, or the things that they were getting him to do. He looked a little bit out of his element, but everything else, I think he was really good. I want to shout out Maggie Q, criminally underused in this movie.
Yeah,
I think everybody wants to see her come back. And already in the comments, a lot of people talking about Kerry Russell. Do you think there was, in some world, is there some way that you can get more of her in this movie, or you think that was a good cameo because she probably couldn't commit to a full feature kind of? Maybe she was
well, I think at the time, well, I don't know, I have no idea, but I think that the story, there's a lot of deleted scenes that they had filmed, and JJ removed them because it slowed the pace down. I mean, the movie's it's a pretty hefty movie as it was, so I think you got the right amount. I don't know if we really need any more. I do think, like, yes, we needed more Maggie Q. We needed more Luther, like Ving Rhames.
Yeah.
Even the other guy, Jonathan Rhys Meyers, you barely saw him in this movie, like as the third dude, right? Like like the sidekicks were really relegated to like the side in this movie.
Yeah, I kind of don't mind that formula where he gets a team and you kind of don't know a lot about him. Like you don't know Maggie Q's history or any of the other guys. You kind of get a little bit of Ving Rhames because he's been in it so long now. But I like that these IMF members. This is like an elite team that gets dropped in, right?
Yeah.
And maybe you see them again later. Maybe you don't. They bounce on their way. Maybe there's some fiction online that you can read their backstory. But I kind of like that these characters are just kind of thrown in. And I wouldn't say disposable, but they give them a little bit of screen time to kind of make some magic happen.
Well, now we don't know. This is me. It's purely conjecture, John. But we know Maggie Q did not die in this movie.
Nope.
There are rumors, though, that people who have been in these movies from the past 6 movies, may show up in 7 and 8, Reckoning Part 1 or 2.
Yes.
So you never know. Maybe we get more Maggie Q in the next movie or number 8 next year.
Yeah. Like I said, criminally underused. I remember really being hype about it when she was first announced in this movie, and I guess just didn't get enough content. But I really like her scenes, and I really like the fact that she did not want to blow up that Lamborghini.
Right.
So yeah. I was like, oh, my heart goes out to this agent that like doesn't want to blow up this beautiful car, and everyone else is just like, I hit the button, blow it up. But yeah. All right. What about the second in command bad guy, the guy who is like the double crosser guy?
Yeah, Billy Crudup. I'm a huge fan of Billy Crudup. I really like him. I mean, hey, John, he was Dr. Manhattan in The Watchmen. But I really like him as an actor. I mean, I loved watching him in, well, listen, Almost Famous. Come on, man. I mean, he was, lead singer of the band in Almost Famous. And on top of that, was fabulous in the morning show on Apple Plus, Apple TV Plus. You should watch that, John. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Billy Crudup. I thought he was good in this role. I think he was great. But man, Lawrence Fishburne, like Big Chew he's just chewing up that scenery, man. You can't help but love that Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah, he had a bunch of really good lines. I thought I wrote one down, but I forgot. There's just a bunch of stuff that he does. Is just really good. And then he kind of at the end, does he give Ethan Hunt money? Like he's like, oh, here's a compensation for all the trouble I put you through.
Yeah, it was a weird document. I don't know.
Yeah, he gives him a document. Tom Cruise looks at it and kind of smiles, and then you never kind of see what it is, right?
No. Yeah. So I have
my assumption is it's reimbursement for putting him through this. So I guess it's maybe a big check or something. But what does Ethan Hunt need with money? The characters never said anything about money, but whatever.
Yeah, he's never like, can I borrow $5?
Well, what else could it be though? You know what I mean? 2 tickets to like Sandals.
Well, I think it was a commendation. Because he said that I think it was like a commendation.
Oh, maybe reinstatement. I guess.
What's that?
Like reinstatement of his status or whatever.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I don't know, but. Anyways, okay, folks, if you guys have got a favorite scene, start dropping it now. We want to talk about scenes of the movie, and then we're going to get to anything you would throw in the fire, because I think there's a couple scenes in here that I would actually throw in there.
Okay.
Rob, so for favorite scenes, I nailed down 3 of the most iconic scenes that I thought were in this movie, and one is the taking when they break into the whole Kremlin thing. I thought that was it Kremlin or whatever? It was like
the Vatican.
Vatican, that was it. Yeah. Tom Cruise is like on the wall.
I think is the next one, John.
Yeah. Who's Tom Cruise talking to when he rolls over and it's like Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall or something? I was like, what are you doing? Who are you talking to?
He's talking to Luther.
But yeah, that was a great scene. The bridge scene for sure, with the explosion, he gets tossed out of the car, and then the whole thing with the G36, Rob. We know in Call of Duty you can easily pick that gun. But they did a good job of making that gun seem like a big deal, because when Cruise gets that gun, he's like shooting everything down and all that kind of
suitcase.
Stuff.
It was so important.
Yeah. He like puts it together and all this stuff. It was a really cool moment. And then of course the big stunt on the building that was preluded by Tom Cruise drawing absolutely perfect buildings on a window, and then taking a. I don't know if he made a compass or pulled a compass out of his pocket and he measures the arc. I'm like, dude, I feel like you should do a little bit more math in this. But those are kind of like my 3 like top scenes. But there's a lot in this movie. There's a lot of really good scenes, a lot of really good moments. Like, Rob, do you have anything that sticks out in your mind that I might have missed?
Well, I mean, I would agree with you about, but I would say like, this movie had way more action than the first two movies combined. Like there's and this is why I was always like kind of confused as to why people never really looked fondly on this movie, because it has tons of action scenes, right? Like it's everything you wanted. And it's kind of crazy because, you know, the movie, J.J. Abrams delivered a better action movie than John Woo does, who's known for delivering good action movies, but instead he delivered like a pretty mediocre drama story.
Right? Yeah. If you put these two movies side by side, you're gonna be like, oh my god, this. And then if you went like, oh yeah, by the way, John Woo's like the action director elite,
number 2,
yeah, and then this is J.J. Abrams. He's from TV and stuff. You'd be like, what?
Yeah,
this guy's blowing this guy out of the water. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, it's really shocking. So like, there's a lot of action scenes. I agree with you. I like the callbacks to some of the other movies, like in the Vatican when he does his Humpty Dumpty thing, and then he uses like the little the laser to tell him how many feet he has to drop. And he drops and he does the full flat out thing like he does in the first movie when he drops right to the ground. I was like, that's pretty cool, right? I like that.
Clever, the gadget he whips out to cover the screen with the screenshot.
Yeah, a Polaroid, right?
Yeah. It was funny.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of and then I mean, I really liked because you mentioned obviously those action scenes, and I'll talk about the bridge thing in a second, but it's those little things like I really liked the transition of when he put on the mask and Luther's massaging his face, and you're watching it and you can see the mask, the outlines of the eyes, and he's massaging it, and all of a sudden it morphs into Philip Seymour Hoffman, right? and you're just like, because the problem is like the camera goes like in front, like it goes like this, right? And you're behind him, but you still see the mask on Cruz, and as he's massaging it, that's when it morphs into it, not the transition of going behind Luther's back, right?
Yeah,
because that's normally what you would expect. It's like you see the mask on, the camera goes behind Luther's back, and all of a sudden the mask is on. But they didn't. They faked you out, and because that's what you expected. And I loved how just how it just molded into like that. It was just, I thought it was a fabulous like editing and how they did that with special effects. So I really like that, the building of the mask, like, you know, with the spray paint, the guns shooting back and forth on it.
It's very everyday for us now because everyone's got like 3D printers and you're like, oh, okay, I see this. But back then, I feel like that was a pretty amazing feat, and then with the airbrushing and all that stuff. And
they're still using flip phones.
I like how they showed you how they create the whole voice synthesizer thing. It's like, Tom's like, read this, right? And then he gets it. And then later on, he does like a perfect Morgan like Lawrence Fishburne impersonation with no chip.
I know. I was like, how did he get that? Yeah, I know. It was kind of silly. I really enjoyed the scene of Philip Seymour Hoffman like hanging with the open doors of the airplane.
Yeah.
Right when he's strapped to the chair and the wind's blowing his face. I'm thinking that you can ask him to say something, he can't say shit because the wind's hammering in his face. He can't get a word out edgewise. But I'll talk about the bridge scene because I believe that's the same bridge that was destroyed in True Lies, John. And I think if you're living near the Florida Keys, that bridge you got to be careful of. But I think I actually enjoy this scene better, and this use of the bridge and explosions better than I did in True Lies. A hot take. I know he'll be really angry because
I think when we did the rewatch of True Lies, it doesn't age as well as something like this. It relied a lot on that, you know, the hairier and all that kind of stuff, which looks really bad now by today's standards, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like you feel Tom Cruise getting hit by the shockwave of that explosion when he gets slammed into the side of that car, right?
Yeah. I know Lewis does not like this whole kind of like when he kind of flies sideways. I remember thinking it looked pretty awkward in the original trailer when they were dropping this movie, but I liked it on this rewatch. I kind of understood it a little bit more, but it could be they're definitely kind of bending the laws of physics a little bit for this movie. Like the jump, you know, when Tom Cruise has to clear that jump, he throws the gun over first, and they cut to an angle below, and you're like, he's not making that jump, and he goes for the jump,
but he doesn't make it. He barely,
he has to grab onto something. So I guess kudos for that. But I was like, yo, he's not making that jump. Sorry, my girl's invaded my space. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, so I really, really enjoyed that. And again, I thought that the action scenes overall were just like, you know, awesome. The last thing I want to talk about, John, is the bomb inside Carrie Russell's head, because that was unreal. Like when listen, I found the whole helicopter flying scene with the windmills to be kind of crazy as it was. I was like, just, I don't know, fly up. You don't have to fly forward. Can't you just like rise up? Isn't that what helicopters do?
No.
Get above the windmills. But when Carrie Russell, when that bomb goes off in her head, and it's not like an explosion, like that's what you're kind of expecting. You're expecting like it's like
a switch.
And all of a sudden
just turns her off.
Her eye, and you're just like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's a really unflattering look when they pull her out of the body bag and her eye is like all like puffed out and like facing the wrong way. I'm like, oh man, this poor girl.
But I thought it was a great scene. Like I said, there was a lot that you're expecting things to happen in a certain way, and then they don't. And you're like, wow, that's really surprising. Like I was expecting a scanner's head explosion, brain particles all over the inside of the helicopter. Nope. She died without having to expunge any bodily fluids whatsoever. Her head just snapped and her eye twisted the other way, and that was it. So thank you, Carrie Russell.
It sold it. It looked brutal. It looked like a brutal way to go.
Yeah, man.
But yeah. So as far as scenes go, there's a lot to talk about. My favorite unbelievable scene, Rob, is like, when he fights those guys in the elevator, he gets free, he beats them all up with the phone, and then what does he do with the phone at the end of the fight? He throws it and hits the button of the elevator, and that's the point where I'm like, okay, this is a little too crazy. But man, Ethan Hunt must be at home just practicing throwing things.
It's okay for Hawkeye to turn off a TV using the flick of a
but that's his thing. That means Ethan Hunt must train in all these amazing things that he's able to do, memorizing all this stuff. And like when Benji's giving him the directions and he's like figuring out where to run, I'm like, I would have forgot what he said already. It's like the next building on the right. I'd be like run around the corner. I'm like, why'd I hang up the phone? I don't know where it goes.
I know when he goes second building on your left, it's right there. And I'd be like, well, where does the building stop and end? Because they're all one big row. I would have no idea.
But yeah, the phone into the button. All right, Rob, anything you would burn from this movie? Anything you would cut if you were able to get in the editing chair, or scenes that you would go to the washroom or get a snack? Okay, I think the wedding, the wedding sequence. I'm not a huge fan of the whole wedding in the hospital. I think it takes way too long. Look, my daughter's sombrero here. And then as Scott mentioned, the end fight, where Ethan Hunt is dead for a good 10 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
And you're like, shouldn't you be addressing that?
Yeah.
But for some reason, the final fight is not as strong for me. I don't know how you feel about it. Sorry.
That's when you're talking about when Philip Seymour Hoffman is pushed up into the oncoming truck.
He gets speed. End of Speed 1. I'm taller.
Well, it made me think about a couple of the other end boss battles that we're going to see in subsequent movies, and I start to wonder if maybe this is a bit of a failing of the subsequent movies. Because there's one in particular, and I won't get into it because we'll watch the movie. But there's one where I'm like, it just felt so like back in the Street Fighter days, we would call them cheap. You're so cheap. You're cheap. It's a cheap move. And I always kind of I felt like it was just like a really crappy way out in some of these endings. And I think this was the same way. I mean, that's how you dispose of like a henchman. That's not how you dispose of your big bad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Just, Gordon say, maybe he should have just stayed as the guy in the chair, but I guess they wanted him in there getting his hands dirty. I think someone else mentioned he's kind of like tossing him around like Kingpin.
I think Scott mentioned that. Yeah. Philip Seymour Hoffman was tossing Tom Cruise around. Yeah.
I think if they played into that a little more, like that he's just a bigger dude, but something about the way he moved, it didn't sell it. I guess maybe he's not quite a big dude.
Yeah.
Looked like a regular dude to me.
Yep. Yeah. Powerful.
Maybe they gave him some of John Woo's spin kicks, and that would have been more impressive.
Maybe there was no doves flying out behind him to be able to.
Yeah. Maybe they just didn't sell it well. Maybe they could have sold that end scene. But yeah, the end sequence, especially after all those really crazy action sequences before, maybe they had too much to live up to kind of be able to wrap it up.
Yeah, like I feel like this movie is a bit long in the tooth. Like I think there's a lot that probably they could have been tightened up for, time wise and whatnot. Like I get the importance of showing Ethan out of his element and the friends and with his fiance and all that. I just felt like there was maybe a bit too much in some of those scenes.
Yeah.
I think it could have been tightened up for sure. But so far, for me, it's the best of the series that we've seen up to this point.
Hands down. Yeah. Anyone in the comments, you guys give us your rating. I'm pretty sure this is on top of the 3 movies that we've already watched. But I don't know. I don't know. 1 and 2, I just feel like they get tossed. I don't care. This is where you start. This is where you start your viewing of Mission Impossible.
So here's something I want to
cycle back, then you start at 3 and go onwards. That's it.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the best. Yeah, because you don't really need to know what happened in the first 2. There's no relevance. There's no callbacks. This is the thing. There's no callbacks to the first 2 movies out of this one.
Other than Ving Rhames. I think Ving Rhames is in the second one, right?
He's in the first and second. He's the guy that's been in all of them. But he doesn't talk about anything else. He doesn't even make like, oh, here we go again. Or even if he did, you'd be like, oh, they've obviously had missions in the past. It doesn't make a difference. Like some quibbles. Tom Cruise, he is this crazy sharpshooter guy. When he was trying to rescue Kerry Russell, and she goes, I'm out. And he goes, how about you? And he goes, I have enough. And it's 1 bullet, and he blasts that one guy. But then on the on the bridge, when he's got the GS6 or whatever, and he's firing at Philip Seymour Hoffman, he doesn't hit once, right?
The G36. Yeah, he was incredible. He went from incredibly accurate to when the helicopter is out there. He can't quite hit them, but I would assume that's a limitation to the gun, that he just got far enough out that he wasn't.
Yeah, maybe. Also, when he was jumping on the bridge, he looked like he had a really tough time trying to climb up. But in the previous movie, he was free climbing on the massive rocks in the Grand Canyon. So
he's like one hand hanging on.
That
situation where it's like, how do you ever get out of this situation where you're in like the cross or the crucifix, whatever they call it? It's like, what the hell? But yeah, shout out to everyone's thinking Emilio Estevez should come back. What do you think, Rob? With a spike in his face, kind of like a James Bond bad guy.
Only if he opens a car window and you hear a faint whistling going through, then you can bring him back. Otherwise, we don't need him back.
Maybe he'd hang like a monocle off the spike.
That's right.
His other eye. But so general consensus is 3 is the top of what we've seen so far. Do you think it's going to stay at? So, Rob, let's say we cut out 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Do you think 3 is going to stay at the bottom, or do you think it's going to be able to beat any of the following movies that come up?
Well, it's funny because I was trying to remember. I know the next one I think it's Rogue Nation. Somebody put it in the
Ghost Protocol. I feel like is the next one.
You might be right. And that's the one that's directed by Brad Bird, right?
Yeah, the director of The Incredibles, right?
Yeah, that's the one that they're in Dubai, I believe, and my son really likes that movie. So I don't know. I think it might be relegated to the bottom, but I also don't think that that's a condemnation of a crappy movie. I just think that, and these are all produced by J.J. Abrams going forward, all underneath his Bad Robot banner.
Yeah.
And I really think that, so I think it might stay at the bottom, but I don't look at that as being a knock on it as well. The one thing I did want to mention, and I'd be very interested to find out how they tie this, because I don't remember. At the end of this movie, Ethan Hunt and his now wife, I can't remember her name, Julia, right, or whatever.
Jules, yeah, he would call her Jules, but it was Julia, I think.
Yeah, they leave happy, which is you don't usually like. It just seems tonally, it seemed kind of off. Like that whole ending part in the offices, it just seemed like there was maybe an alternate ending because it tested well with the audiences. It didn't feel like it belonged.
I respect it because they could have done a stinger, or some kind of crazy turn or a sad ending where she could have died. But I respect that they went with just a happy ending and just.
I know, but it felt weird. But we know though, like I remember specifically why Jules is not part of 4 and 5 and why you see her back in 6. And so I'm going to be interested to go back and see how they make that transition. They tie that together of being exceptionally happy and then all of a sudden her not being involved as much.
I think it's just explained to my recollection. I think it's just explained in some exposition, and then we have the whole Jeremy Renner backstory that ties into that. So yeah, we'll. I'm really looking forward to watching Ghost Protocol again. I feel like I haven't watched it in a while.
Yeah, same with me.
Yeah. So you guys, if you guys are new or unawares, we will be watching Ghost Protocol the first Monday of April. Right? It's April.
The first Monday in April.
First Monday of April. And then next week we got a bunch of stuff going on. But if you guys want to say anything else about Mission Impossible 3, get it in now because we're gonna wrap this up. Unless Rob, you had anything else you wanted to mention about this?
No, I'm good. I mean, I was gonna talk about this movie in juxtaposition with the Bond movies since I've been watching them so much lately. But it's already 9:20, so we'll do that.
You'll save that when we get to, I think, Rob, I'll have to indulge you in a little bit of Bond action. So I'm not going through all those movies, but maybe if you pick your best ones.
Nope, all 26. James Bond.
Or if I try to describe to you Bond movies that I remember from my childhood, watch them all the scenes be from the same movie. It would be funny. Underwater Lotus. What movie is that from?
Spy Who Loved Me.
Okay. Laser beam that's gonna cut him in half.
Goldfinger.
Girl who's painted gold, obviously Goldfinger, right?
Yeah.
Bond hanging off a truck, a moving transport truck of some kind, and a whole bunch of. I feel like it was Timothy Dalton too, but I don't know, I could be wrong. Maybe I'm forgetting these.
Well, he was on the top. That License to Kill. He's on the top of a gasoline.
Yeah, it's like a tanker of some kind.
Tanker truck. Yeah.
Which movie is that?
License to Kill.
Oh, License to Kill. I think License to Kill is one of the coolest titles. But anything is I Have Nothing But Time, like Gord said, is that a name of a Bond movie? Or is that the Bond movie that you would star in? I have nothing but time.
I have nothing but time.
Watch Bond movies.
Yeah, that's all I've been doing. No, Gord wants to see my Batwing. I am going to be I am maybe potentially in the next few weeks redoing this office because we have some renovations going on. So I'm probably going to be flipping my office around. So when I will make sure when I do bring it down to paint, I'll take some photos for Gord. Or
sharks with freaking laser beams. Can we watch that? I feel like maybe we should give
Austin Powers
a go.
No.
Our parody movie kind of a swing. But anyway, thanks folks for joining us for Mission Impossible 3. I think we're going to recommend to own this movie, right, Rob? I feel like I want to get a copy of this now, so that I can watch basically 3 and up. Like I said, I had 1 and 3 missing from my collection, so now I can throw 2 away and replace it with 3, and then I'll just go 3 and up, and 1 and 2 don't exist to me anymore.
Who would have thought you'd be tossing out a John Woo movie, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I've actually been let down by a lot of John Woo movies, but we'll have to revisit that someday. So thanks, everybody. Next week, what are we doing, Rob, next week?
Well, it's your favorite thing, John. We're talking sports.
So we're going to get together, me and Rob, who don't sports. We're going to talk about our favorite sports movies. So I hope you guys will join us.
Happy Gilmore.
Yeah. Go to your home. Is Happy Gilmore going to be on your list, Rob? Is Any Given Sunday is a football movie of some kind going to be on your list? Is Top Gun making your list? You folks get your list ready.
Why do you have Top Gun in here?
That's a sports movie. We designated it as a sports movie.
No, we didn't.
We did.
He played volleyball.
Yeah, it's one of the greatest volleyball scenes captured in the film. No?
Jerry Maguire is more of a sports movie than Top Gun. What's wrong with you?
Maybe Jerry Maguire would be on there. I don't know. We know Moneyball's in there. Special guest Chris Ho. 100%.
Well, we already know what his movie will be.
We already 100% know he's got Moneyball on there probably 3 times. But yeah, Happy Gilmore, Rocky movies. What else? Bad News Bears, Robs?
Sure. Mighty Ducks.
League of Their Own. Anyway, on there? No.
Yeah, could
Major League. Major League
is
a big one. I don't know if Major League's going to be on anyone's list. Yeah. I'll see if I can get Stu to come on too to give us some more classy choices, but we'll see if he's free. But I know for sure Chris O is going to be here, and we're going to have our list for you. So you guys at home, put together your list. Join us next week on Monday. The following Monday.
Yeah. I know, Gord. I know.
The following week, Rob, I actually figured out we have like a theme going on. We originally just picked them because I don't know if they were Denzel movies or whatever, but we're going to be delving into vigilante action movies, which is going to open up with Antoine Fuqua and Denzel Washington's Equalizer, which has spawned 2 more movies and a TV show. I recall not digging it as much as I should have on the first watch. Maybe I wasn't in the mood. So I'm looking forward to new watch. And then we're going to follow that up with Man on Fire, Tony Scott and Denzel Washington, another man on a quest for vengeance. And then after that will be Mission Impossible. Before you know it, we're at Mission Impossible 4.
Wow.
MI4.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So that's the schedule. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my God. Yeah. We're going to do Emilio Estevez. Are we Mighty Ducksing it? I remember watching Mighty Ducks 2 a hell of a lot. No, I don't know why 2.
Lewis and Gord can have a sideshow and talk about Men at Work with Emilio Estevez and Charlie Sheen as garbage guys.
Oh man, did they play the song? Did they play the Men at Work song for that movie? No. No. That's a lost opportunity. So basketball, yeah. What about dodgeball? Ben Stiller's dodgeball. I feel like we're gonna have a lot to talk about next week, folks. So
we could.
Yeah. So bring it on. Also another valid choice. Bring it on. What?
Or it'll be Chris talking about Moneyball.
Yeah, it'll be Chris just rehashing the entire plot of Moneyball.
We know what we'll do. We'll just run the episode we talked about Moneyball.
It'll open up. It'll just be a Moneyball review again. No. We're gonna bring our list. We're gonna try and outdo each other, top each other.
Cool Running.
What? Wait, Running. The Running Man. Is the Running Man a sports movie?
Cool Runnings.
Oh, Cool Runnings. Yeah. Jamaican bobsled team, yo.
That's right.
Yeah. Wow, there's so many Hoosiers. I don't think I've ever seen Hoosiers. If I've seen it, it would have been when I was really young.
Gene Hackman, buddy.
Yeah, when I was really young, and I probably know scenes from it, and I wouldn't know that it was actually that movie. But anyways.
All right.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, talking Mission Impossible 3 and all kinds of other nonsense. We hope you join us next week talking sports movies, and then the following weeks when we talk vigilante movies, and then we go back to Mission Impossible. And then after that, I don't know what we're going to do, Rob.
We'll figure it out.
Should do. Yeah? All right.
We'll figure
Anyways.
it out. Yeah. Indiana Jones. There we are.
No, get out of town. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'll watch UHF, which has a parody of Indiana Jones in it, right?
It does. All right, man.
Yeah, running man. Running man. He doesn't do a lot of running, right? I guess not.
Nope.
But
he even has a crazy Under Armour leotard, but he does not do any running.
Yeah. All right. We got to get those leotards still. When Halloween, guys. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Rob, for doing this.
Thanks, buddy.
And hanging out with us. So we will see you guys next week.
Yeah.
Next week. All right.
Peace.
Peace out, folks.